All right, we are back in the booth tonight after a little hiatus. It's good to be back in the booth, starting out 2023. We got a lot of new stuff going on. We got an exciting one tonight. We're actually going to be doing a video on the new knockoff Legend from Lure Build. It's a really cool looking bait. Jimmy has them in stock now, so go check him out at lurebuild.com. I've already got one here in the lure holder. I've actually put a coat of auto-borne sealer, 6013 on it. If you have not used this auto-borne sealer, it is probably one of the better sealers that they have. It's very bright, very clean. Then I went over top of it with a coat of golden iridescent fine silver. So we've let it dry, and what I've done to this bait is I've taken rubber bands and wrapped in the joints to kind of keep it straight. And what we're going to do with this tonight is we're going to do a simple crappie pattern with some Colorshift paints, ones that I have not used on the channel. So let's get to it. Like I said, I've already taken one coat of auto-borne sealer silver, went over it with a iridescent silver fine. It's a really cool bait. I've wrapped the tail and I've wrapped the bill. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take it out, and I'm going to move my lure stand, because I like to do this when I'll take my sponge and roll it up like this. Try to get this where you can see it. And we're going to be using some Insane Custom stencils from Russ Allen. You can go check them out at insanecustomstencils.com. I've actually got a couple new ones here. This is actually a small crappie pattern and a large. And then I've got the old faithful, the main crappie one I use. This is actually my favorite stencil. I've used it quite a bit. You can tell I haven't kept it clean, but it does an excellent job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some, well, I tell you what, let's see how we're going to handle this one tonight. We will go ahead and do the stencil part first. I'm going to be using I'm actually going to use an eclipse on this one. Oh, excuse me, I'm not going to use an eclipse on this one. I'm going to use my PS771 because I'm going to do my stencil work. So we're going to put a little bit of carbon black in the gun. We're going to turn the pressure down till about 10 to 15. I said we haven't been on here in about 2 months, unfortunately. I've been busy at work. I work a retail job, and the holidays are just a nightmare for me to get in here and plan videos and try to get stuff handled. But I'm going to try to get back in here, and I'm going to go ahead and make an announcement. I'm going to go ahead and start uploading a video every Thursday night. So those who follow the channel will have that to look forward to. I will try to download them by at least 7 o'clock. So we got it loaded in our gun. And I'm going to use this bigger one. Like I said, I love this new one. You need to go check it out. I guess I got a prototype. It doesn't have a number on it, but it's actually a 2 stencil set with a very cool crappie pattern on it. So go check that out at Insane Custom Stencils. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this crappie stencil, and I'm going to line it up by the eye on here. And what I usually do first is I'm going to go ahead and paint up here by the gill and all first. Try to get all that taken care of, then I'll slowly move down the bait. Turn that up a little bit. And then I'm going to start using some of these other ones that we got with it. I use the top of the stencil. go around the face with it. Come down here on the bottom. The gill on this one is very big on this bait. It's a lot bigger than some of the ones I've painted here recently. And I just cover up the gill part. We'll go around the eye a little bit. I got a cool, well, when you order these from Jimmy, they're gonna come with the teardrop eyes, but they're actually black. And I'm gonna use an eye from Backwater Outfitters I just got from Carrie. It's a big pupil eye that I think is gonna look a little bit better, but that gives it a really natural look. And then what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and I'll let that dry for a second. You can heat set that if you like. And then I'll just go to the body. I don't like to use the body part of the stencil on the gill, so I'll just take it and go around it. You don't want to blast this. I put it on low pressure and I just lightly go back and forth. I don't really want it super jet black. And you can see there, it gives it a really natural looking crappie look. And you'll have to fill it in because it's not going to be perfect, but it really is a great looking stencil. And then what we'll do is we'll move down to these smaller parts. I've never painted one of these baits before. Like I said, it's the knockoff Legend from lurebill.com. Jimmy's got them in stock. And we'll just move to the back. And that really gives it a cool, crappie finish. No pun intended, but so we're gonna let that dry just for a second. I will probably go ahead and just heat set that a little bit till I flip it over. And then we're gonna switch blacks. We're gonna do a little different twist to this. We're gonna use a paint that I have not used on the channel before. And this is a simple pattern. It's not hard to do, but it's effective. It catches a lot of fish. It does where I live. We'll turn this thing to the front. We'll go ahead and do I want to do the nose and all too. This is kind of a big-headed bait, so it's kind of a cool looking bait. Let's just see how I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna lay it like that, and tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to. No, I got this one. This one's already up. It's close to it. Just put you a few little marks there to kind of even it out. We'll flip it over. We'll do the same thing on this side. Okay, I'll turn it up. Put just a few right here. I really want to keep that. I'm not going to I'm going to keep the top kind of solid. I will do that. Kind of gives it a really neat look. So we'll flip it over here and we're going to do the same thing again. Just make sure when you flip this over that you've dried off your stencil, because it will cause smudges and you don't want that. This has been an anticipated knockoff bait, I tell you that. It's a really cool looking bait. I've been looking forward to painting some of them. There's a lot of new stuff coming out, so we got a lot to look forward to in 2023. A lot of cool looking baits. to paint. Go ahead and darken this eye. Excuse me. Go ahead and get some of this on there. Gives it more of a natural look. Excuse me. Get up some on this top part. The key to the stencils, like I've always said in the other videos too, is it's the pressure. Don't try to blast the bait. I think that's where a lot of people miss it. When you start blasting them, it just starts putting it on. It just starts laying that paint on too heavy, and it'll cause smudges and really take away from the bait. So cut that pressure down. Just make sure that you've either reduced your paint or you got a good paint where you can shoot it through without any issues. And I think you'll have great success with these stencils. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just let that sit there for a second. We'll slide it on down and go ahead and get our body done. And just remember, you don't want to get it on the gill part, so just, well, it's a lot easier if you clean your stencils, guys. I hadn't cleaned this. I've been using it quite a bit. And it'll definitely give it a really cool, crappy pattern. It does a really good job. I love this stencil. It's by far my favorite crappie stencil. And the rivers and places that I fish have a lot of crappie in them, and it just works out really well for me. So I'll pick that up and let you check it out. It really does a good job. We're going to set these stencils down. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to get my lure holder back out because the next step I can actually use it for that. This bait is 5.1 inches long, weighs an ounce and a half, I believe. It's got some good weight to it. So what we're going to do next, we've got it in there, and hopefully you can see everything good. I'm going to clean the gun out, and I'm going to take a solvent base paint, which is going to be the Spastics on this one. There's so many I've got. I love the House of Colors. That's my favorite solvent base paint. But I kind of like the green on this one of the color changing shift paints I'm going to use tonight. It just has a really cool, the Crappie where I live have a little bit of green in them. And I like to have them right there on the shoulders and coming down in green. It gives it a really neat look. You got to be careful with these paints. I paint them out of a Iwata HPCH, which has got solvent-based packing in it, so it's not going to eat my seals away when I spray it. I'm not going to eat them away. All right, so what we're going to do now is we've put our stencil pattern on, but I did that with actually regular carbon black. But the top, I'm actually going to use a Spastics solvent-based high gloss black. And what I'm going to do, you can't see this. I'm going to do a video here, and maybe be the next video I do. It's going to be on the 4E's mixing machine that I got. It is fantastic. You can get that at Lure Build. That is one of the best things I've gotten in quite a while. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these just clear droppers, because these jars, I don't like to pour. I would rather just go ahead and use the little droplet thing and stick it in there, get what I'm going to use, put it in my gun. And like I said, I'm using a Iwata HPCH, which has got solvent packing in it, so it's not going to eat my seals up. That you got to be careful of. Awada does not have the packed seal, so I wouldn't recommend using that if you are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn, I've got my pressure still down on about 12. I'm going to go ahead and cover the top. You really want to wear a respirator with this. I'm only doing this a little bit, so I'm going to leave it off since I'm doing the video. And I'm going to let it bleed just a little bit on the sides. The good thing about these solvent-based paints, they dry very fast. Very fast. You can almost see it dry as you're painting it on it. Okay, so that kind of darkened that up. And I've got a little bit left. I'm going to pour it back in. And so I don't waste it. I always put too much paint in. I think that if that's one tip you learn is you don't need a lot of paint when you're doing these lures. I've learned over the years it just doesn't take a lot. And I use a little acetone to clean it out, spray it out. I don't like mixing paints. I know some people do. It's just not my thing. I don't call that blending, but some people do. Whatever floats your boat. Get that cleaned out. We'll let this dry for just a second. And then we're going to move on to the Colorshift paint. I'm going to go ahead and stir it up real quick, and then well, that is the great thing about this 4E stirrer. You just put it down. It's a Vortex paint stirrer, and it just, I mean, it stirs your paints up in seconds. This is a Spastics. It is a gold to green color change shift paint. And it really gives a cool color shift to this Crappie. I don't use a lot. I'll do the top, and I'll let a little bit come down the sides. But it gives it a very just cool color. It gives it a neat color. If you've never used the paints, I mean, I got them. There's a hobby town in Augusta, Georgia, where I live, and I went in there and I saw it and I tried them, and I just liked them. I mean, I like the paints. They actually they spray really well. They have really good colors. They're easy to spray. So again, we're going to be on low pressure on this. I'm spraying it out of the same gun, and well, the thing is, you want to spray the Colorshift over black. That is the key. Now, there are some, and Jimmy carries them now. He's carrying Turbo Dork at lurebuild.com. So you definitely need to go check that out because it's a cool paint. I use those. I'll be doing some videos on those in the weeks to come. I've done a lot of lures here in the past with them. I've been using them for years, but they're very cool. He's got Colorshift paints at Lure Build that he actually makes himself that are fantastic, so you need to go check that out. But you need to, for the most part, the Colorshifts, like I said, there's a few, I know Turbo Dork that you can spray over white, but for the most part, they're sprayed over black. So you're going to want to put a black base down when you do this, and you're going to see immediate change in the color as soon as it hits the black. And when you let it run down the sides on this, it's hitting the regular black from the golden, and it does a very cool job. Like I said, the Crappie where I live have this green right there below the shoulder. And I just like the color. It's just my deal with with this Crappie that I paint. And it gives it a really cool gold to green shift. If you've never used these paints, they're not expensive. They're kind of really cool to paint. I'm gonna paint some down here on the front, and that'll give it a different look. And I can also put a little bit around here, because even just the regular golden black will activate it. And it just gives it a cool look. I mean, the Crappie really aren't gold to green on the top. A lot of them have black tops, but I've just kind of done this because I like it, and I've caught fish with it. So maybe that'll give you a different option to throw it on. And like I said, these baits are really neat. I've never painted one. I've wanted to paint one for a while. It's hard to get the originals, the throwbacks. I mean, I know they do drops and stuff, and but it's hard to get them. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry. And I'm gonna put this back. I put a little bit too much of this in there. It really doesn't. It just doesn't take a lot of paint to do it. But you can see, I hope you can see it in the camera view. It just has a, it's a killer color shift. That has really been a popular thing in our painting world here lately, is color shift paints. I know I've used a lot of them. I know Jonathan Walters used a lot of them. He really has painted some killer shad that a lot of people like to copy. And kudos go out to Jonathan on that. He has really got a cool technique down on that, on those shad. He really does an excellent job on his stencil work and everything else on those shad, especially the scale patterns. He does very good work with that. Let's go ahead and just put a little heat on this. Then we're going to undo the tail, and we're going to do the tail. Like I said, the solvent-based paints dry really fast. You really don't have to put a lot on them. Just want to be careful where I've got a ventilation system in my booth. I mean, I don't turn it on with the video because my videos usually aren't that long. But you want to be careful with this, and you don't want to get hurt breathing all those fumes. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set this down, and we're going to go ahead and get the tail off, and we're going to go ahead and do the tail. On the stencil Russ has, it's got a stencil for the tail, and it usually turns out really cool. On this bait right here, I'm actually going to use UV resin, so I may videotape that and do a part 2 on this, because the tail is actually clear on this, as you can see, which I'd rather, to be honest with you, I want a clear tail on any of these knockoff baits we get. Then I can kind of do my own thing with it. I don't like to have a colored tail because it just limits you too much. It's kind of like the eyes. On this bait here, they come with a black teardrop eye. I'm actually going to use a 10 millimeter eye, like I said, that I got from Carrie at Backwater, that I think is going to be a better fit for this. It'll leave the front a little open, but when I do the resin, it'll cover that up and you really won't see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this gun up, and I'm going to go back to my PS 771. I'm going to put a little bit of black golden in it. There's not a lot of colors to this bait. Like I said, you can, well, there's one other thing you can do to this bait. If you like your crappies to have white bellies, you can actually paint the belly white on this and give it a kind of unique look. And we may do that. Just do it. So put a little bit of black in. And what I'll do, I'll set it up on my sponge where you can actually see it. These tails on these baits are really not big, so it's not going to be too hard to do. but it does give it a cool effect. So I'm gonna go back to the stencil, and it's got a Crappie tail stencil on the back of this, and I'll just set it over that, and it gives it a really, it gives it the finishing touch. It really does. And you can see it really gives it a cool effect. And then I'm gonna take it and put a little bit of black on the top. I'm gonna run it down the back of it. Getting a little dry tip. You can hear my airbrush whistling. I want to come up a little higher on this. I got a little bit of section here. Fill that in, and that really just kind of finishes it off. It is a cool knockoff bait. I really can't even tell you. I mean, I just got them today. I was supposed to get them Tuesday, and I was going to do the video Tuesday, but they sent my package to Mississippi instead of Augusta, and I had to wait a couple extra days because it got misshipped. And so I was really looking forward to coming in the shop and getting in the booth, doing this bait, and getting it done. It is a really cool. I can't wait to fish it. I've never fished one. I've only seen videos. I know everybody's watched the homeless fisherman. He's actually he's fun to watch. He's a good fisherman, and I love the originals. Like I said, I'd love to get one, to have one of the originals instead of one of the knockoffs. But it's very cool looking bait. Very cool. I mean, it's got slight differences in the gill and the eyes. They're not the same. And I'm sure it doesn't have the same swimming action as the original, but it's a fun one to have, to kind of get out there and paint and just do something different with. But I know Jimmy's got them in stock at lurebill.com, so go check him out for that. And what we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and take the tape off the bill, and we'll go ahead and get the eyes in. And like I said, I'm kind of doing a little playing around, modifying with the eyes. I'm gonna use a 10mm eye on this. I'm not gonna use the eyes that I was sent with the baits. I think it's really gonna give this lure the finishing touch. These are some great eyes from Carrie at Backwater. They're a large pupil eye. It's a perfect shad eye. I think it's going to be a perfect one for this right here. So get this tape off. I really do I wanted to say too that I really appreciate the support I've been given, even when I haven't been posting here in the last little while because of work. I mean, I've got a lot of messages from everybody wanting to know when I was posting again, making sure I was all right. And it's kind of nice. You know, that's the fun part of the fishing community that we have. There's a lot of good people. Now, not to say that you're not going to have some in there that want to cry and complain about everything and anything, because they're going to do it, and they do it. They want to talk about somebody. But the sad thing about that is, you know, they got to do that to make themselves feel good. So let them go ahead and do it, but just keep on having fun and keep slinging paint and don't sweat it. So here's the eyes. These are really nice. This is a large pupil. Silver and black eye from Carrie at Backwater. And I know most everybody has seen that Carrie is actually gonna, he's going out of business. So you may want to get over there and get you a couple of good deals on whatever Carrie's got left. And check him out. So we'll put this other one in. Okay, and then I'll let you take a look at it. It is actually a very cool looking little bait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little UVLS, and I'm going to go over the whole bait. And like I said, I'll probably go ahead and do I'm going to UV resin this. I like to change up here and there, so I'm going to put the resin on this in my other shop, and I'll probably won't do that till tomorrow. But I wanted to get a video in and share this bait because it is a very cool bait from Lure Build. And I wanted to share this pattern with you that I have been painting it a little bit lately. I just hadn't made the videos. So we're going to get a little bit of UVLS. And this is actually the 4053, the high gloss. I mean, I've wore the label off on it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But that's what it is. It's 4053. It is a very good product. I use it on every bait I use, either that or the regular. So I'll just mix it with some 4011 reducer in a small cup that I get from Sam's Club. I don't like mixing in the gun. I mean, I know it's probably wasteful, but I've been doing it so long. It's just my habit. So I'll stir this up, and we're going to go ahead and turn the pressure back up on the compressor to about 35, 40. Go ahead and put it in here. I'm just going to put a light coat on here. And just remember, the UVLS, you want it to be on it wet. I'll put it on the tail, put it on the bottom. Like I said, if you like the white bottom on the Crappie, you know, that gives it a cool look too. And I'm not talking about pearl white, I'm talking about like titanium white. If you're looking for something different. And I think that's gonna do it. We'll let that dry. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you know I have upcoming videos. I'm glad to be back in the booth sharing again and getting back in here with y'all. Put stuff down in the comments whether you like it or not. Tell me what you want me to do. And like I always say, I'll catch you next time. Thanks.